You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yep. Sometimes it's a write it yourself. I don't even have to do anything. Don't even lift a finger. Welcome to another episode of Locked On A's. I am your host, Wayne Coy. Always fun to be here talking about our favorite baseball team. And thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen every day. We do appreciate that. And if you're an everydayer, you want to make sure you let us know in the comments so that we can shout you out because you're special if you're here every day. We do appreciate that. And if you're listening to the podcast, of course, can't really leave a comment there, but what you can do is you can send us a message via Twitter, or if you like X, it's at Locked On A's, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And again, thanks for being around. Okay, we have a lot to talk about today, so we're going to dive right in. And our first order of business is, hear ye, it is the postseason, because it is. It's postseason baseball. And, you know, that's the best kind of baseball. Everything just elevates to a new degree, right? Everything's at a higher level. There's tension, it seems like, on every pitch. So we're at that time of year, my favorite time of year, by the way, working our way towards another great World Series, hopefully. Very excited as the playoffs are continuing to happen. We're going to go on to the division series now. For some reason, we got Friday off. I'm not real sure why that happened. Probably because they didn't know everybody was going to win their series 2-0, but a lot of sitting around. It seemed like an extra day or so off, but here we go. ALDS games. FS1 is where you're going to watch those. They start at 10 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday. It's Minnesota at Houston in the later game, but the early game will be Texas at Baltimore. NLDS games. Those are on TBS, not FS1. You ever done that where you think they're on the same network and you're like, where's the game? Different network, okay? Happens a lot with football. Anyway, Philadelphia is at Atlanta, and that's the early game in the National League. And then the Diamondbacks are, of course, out of Arizona and off to L.A. to play the Dodgers in their first game of their series. So it's kind of back-to-back baseball. And you got to like that all day, all night tomorrow. It's a baseball fan's heaven. That's what we call it. I realized after yesterday's show, by the way, that I never actually made my picks. So I don't do that too often, but I'm going to do it now. And we'll start off with Texas-Baltimore. Should be a pretty good series. As much as I love Marcus Semien, and I do. I mean, what A's fan doesn't? And I'm sorry, Semi, but those baby birds, they're so fun to watch. Bunch of kids basically overachieving, had one of the best records in baseball. The Camden Yards faithful have been waiting a long time for the Orioles to come around. And I think all of the stars are aligning for them to be Cinderella this year. So I do like Baltimore to win this series. Minnesota is at Houston. Hey, Houston. Is there a problem? Yeah, because I'm an A's fan and you're the Astros. We don't like each other. So there, I've said it. I want Sonny Gray and the Twins to win this thing. But of course, what did your dad say? Wish in one hand, poop in the other. See which one you have more of. Yeah, it's not a wise thing, I don't think, to pick the Twinkies here. So as much as I'm not an Astros guy, they are indeed the Astros. So all that experience, and they're playing at home to start, I think home field advantage is probably going to help them. Houston, the winners there. National League, NLDS. Phillies. Let's see what they can do with the Atlanta Braves, who seem to be a juggernaut. I think they're the number one seed overall in the playoffs, right? And I swear I am not rooting against all of our former players. It just seems that way. I went against Marcus Semien. I went against Sonny Gray. And am I going to go against Oly and Murph playing for Atlanta? Yeah, I'm afraid I am. I just feel like the Phillies have caught fire at the right time. You know, the postseason is like that. You know, a team gets hot and they do it at the right time and they can just steamroll the other teams and you don't expect it because you're like, well, on paper anyway, well, you don't play the game on paper. And if they've got that mojo rolling going into the playoffs, well, then, sometimes that's all you need. And the Phillies have something that nobody else in baseball has, except maybe the Oakland A's, back before, when we used to have good players. You remember those days, right? Packing the Coliseum. Well, they used to say, well, it feels like a European soccer match at the Coliseum. All the drums and the craziness that's going on. Well, it's kind of like that in Philly. I got to tell you, that is an electric atmosphere. If that isn't a home field advantage, I don't know what is. So I think it really comes down to these first two games. If, and this is a big if the Phillies can win one of the two in Atlanta, then I think they go back to Philadelphia and they win 2 games there. And that's called a home field advantage. And I think the Phillies win it, if that is indeed the case. But of course, Ronald Acuna Jr. could go completely off, right? This guy's unreal, and they could sweep for all I know. It's a tough one to call, but I'm going to say Phillies in 4. And finally, Arizona is at LA. I mean, face it, we are A's fans, and most of us, of course, don't do anything whatsoever that might lean toward the orange and the black, except for Halloween. Yeah, I know. Blah, blah, blah. Unite the Bay. Blah, blah, blah. That was great and everything, but nothing, and I mean nothing, is going to destroy a Giants fan's spirits more than an October with a whole bunch of Dodger blue in it. It's just the way it goes. And, the Dodgers traditionally have been able to get deep into the postseason, and the reason why is because they've got pitching. Now, they play in a pitcher's park there, but beyond that, they just seem to be able to draft and trade well for pitchers. And, of course, they've got a guy who's unreal, who has seemed to come back to earth because he's had injury issues, and that's Clayton Kershaw. So the question is, will we get a healthy Clayton Kershaw in Game 1? I think so. And that could be an issue if you're the Arizona Diamondbacks. After that, I think it's Bobby Miller. He'll get the ball on Monday, I guess it would be, right? Because they're going to play Saturday. They're going to take Sunday off, which is weird. Yeah, so it'd be Monday. And then it's either Ryan Pepio, the kid, or Lance Lynn, who may or may not even make the roster for Game 3. I'm sure they're going to look at matchups, right? It's what Davey does. So besides Kershaw, health has been an issue for the Dodgers as a whole, but I think the time off, because they obviously got to sit and wait while the wild card series got played, I think it might have done them good. Maybe they've healed up a little bit. They've licked their wounds. They've taken a breather. And from what I understand, they kind of snuck it out on Twitter, but I think they're at full strength. Not to go all hockey on you here, but, well, the Dodgers are just one of those teams. Don't be surprised, by the way, to see Chris Taylor make the roster. Talk about somebody who's been hurt, but apparently full participation in the workout. So I'm looking for him to be on the roster. I'm looking for Clayton Kershaw to pitch like Clayton Kershaw. And I'm looking for the Dodgers to do their thing. Now, as much as we talk about the pitching, let's face it, at the end of the day, kind of boils down to those bats, right? And they're scary. You've got 4 players in the lineup with over 100 RBI. That alone would put scare the bejesus out of you, right? So you got that. 3 of those 4 hit over 30 home runs. So they can go yard on you all the time. Freddie just missed. Freddie Freeman ended up with 29. So you could have easily had 4 players there with 30 home runs and over 100 RBIs in your lineup. Freddie's scary. But I think the true hero in this series, and you may mock me, but he had a great year, 36 bombs. I'm saying this is Max Muncy's series to step up and highlight and do what he does. He's an amazing baseball player, a little streaky, but I don't know why. My gut tells me this is a Max Muncy series. So let's plug in and see about that. Okay? So again, my picks going into the division series to recap: Baltimore, Houston, Philadelphia, LA. Meanwhile, it was a strong Arizona Fall League debut for the other Max Muncy. What? There's two? Yeah, there is. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Right now, though, they call it the Fall Classic, the World Series, seriously. But sometimes Mother Nature has kind of an agenda of her own. She didn't get the memo. And winter comes a little earlier than you expected. Could be a cold fall, could be a cold winter. You want to make sure you're all ready for that. Got your closet stocked with winter clothes. With Ibotta, you can get cash back on winter coats, hats, gloves, scarves, and more for the whole family. Now, the average Ibotta user saves $100 a year. You don't just save it, you earn it. And that, of course, could cover the cost of, your fishing trip, your expedition down to Dodger Stadium, I guess, to watch the Dodgers in the World Series if they make it that far. You could have a fancy dinner. I mean, it's $100, right? That's the average. Sometimes it's even more. You've been craving all that stuff, you might as well get it. Get that cash back. Other apps give you points. Yeah, points are okay, but they don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you get real cash back. That's cash money, yo. And you get it in your bank account, PayPal, gift cards. Download the Ibotta app, and you can do that either at Google Play or in the Apple App Store, either place. Go get it, download it, use the code MLB, and you start earning real cash back with Ibotta. That's IBOTTA. Get the app today and use code MLB. Well, everywhere you look, there's a Max Muncy. It was a long time ago, like I think 2012, that the A's drafted the Max Muncy that most of us know that plays down in Los Angeles these days. But yeah, he started off with the A's. And now, in case you missed it, there's another one, which is crazy. It's not like Will Smith, which, there's 100 Will Smiths, right? But Max Muncy? I mean, it's not a name you hear every day, but there's two of them playing baseball. This one making some noise for the A's in the Arizona Fall League. Well, he's not playing for the A's. He's playing for the Mesa Solar Sox, but he debuted there. Just 21-year-old shortstop, former first-round pick back in 2021 for the A's in the draft. Muncy hits the first pitch that he sees in the AFL over 400 feet to left field. It's back, gone. And that's the way you start your short season there in Arizona. And of course, the Solar Sox get off to a nice little lead, 1-0. And he didn't stop there because, he could have, but he didn't. In fact, he was only a triple away from hitting for the cycle. I'm talking about the younger Max Muncy, who ends up 4 for 5, 2 RBI, and 2 runs scored, and a stolen base just for good measure. How you doing? Huh? Of course, he wouldn't say that because he's from Thousand Oaks. It'd be more like, so dude, how you doing? Muncy, Max, don't forget it. He's projected to hit the major leagues around 2025. But I got to tell you, I think left to his own devices, we might see him even sooner. It's the A's after all. They've kind of shown a penchant for grabbing a minor leaguer and bringing him up. Some might say too early, but I say if you're not going to spend money on free agents, if you're not going to get veterans to come in, you might as well, let the kids play baseball. Baptism by fire, right? A lot of great young players, too. We saw them this year. Zach Geloff, Esty Ruiz, Brent Rooker. I mean, on and on and on, right? Shea Langoliers, a ton of them. Well, anyway, I would call that it's a good problem to have department because Max has got some traffic where he is a shortstop, and guess what? He's surrounded by shortstops. You thought there were a lot of Max Muncys. Well, don't look now, but beep, beep, here comes another shortstop, right? Yeah, you got Nick Allen, who's already up in the big leagues, and this guy, of course, a defensive whiz. Did you see that game against the Angels where he just pretty much put on a clinic? I think it was the next to last. It was the Joe Boyle game. Guy was unreal, like playing out of his head. So you got Nick, who's already there, can glove it. The question is, can he hit it? So far, the answer's not so much. I mean, yeah, every now and again he surprises you, but 221, that's the real-life batting average. So that's got to come up, I think, and we've got to see some more pop from the position. Didn't always, used to be that way. Used to be, if you were a good glove, no-hit shortstop, you were Tim Foley, you were Mark Belanger, you could have a career. But those days are long gone. Now it's everything, post A-Rod is Derek Jeter, you're going to play shortstop, you better hit a bit. So a little pressure on Nick Allen. And sitting there in the minor leagues, the aforementioned Mr. Muncy. But besides that, we've got the number 1 overall draft pick from this year. That would be Jacob Wilson. A's grabbed him with the 6th overall pick in the draft. It was their first pick, of course. Plays shortstop. Just a quick little look-see is all we got. 23 games for the Lansing Lugnuts, one of the great names in baseball history. And he hit .318, had a home run, and drove in 8 in a very short sample size there. And then there's Darrell Hernandez. Darrell Hernandez is a player that we picked up in that Cole Irvin trade from Baltimore. Obviously, they're pretty well covered in their infield, so they could afford to give up a player who a lot of teams would say is one of their better prospects. We're certainly saying that. As a matter of fact, the A's made him their minor league player of the year. And you might say, well, why is that? And then I might answer, because he hit .322 and he had 70 RBI and he did all of that between AA and AAA. So don't hold your breath, but Mr. Hernandez obviously is coming to play. So you got a log jam. I mean, you just do. So what do you do in that instance? Well, you either take one of those players and have them focus on a different position and start working right now to, turn a shortstop into a third baseman or turn a shortstop into an outfielder. That's what you do. Or you've got trade capital, right? You've got somebody that you can maybe make a deal with. I can't see the A's doing that, but I do see them possibly working to convert somebody. And it wouldn't be the first time that Hernandez hasn't played short. He's played second. He's played third. Wilson has also played third base and the outfield. I think we need help at third base. I really do. And I know I've been pretty vocal about that, but I'm just not sold on Diaz at third or Kevin Smith. So with that in mind, why not give Hernandez a look at third? Why not give Jacob a look at third? It's maybe an idea. Max Muncy, pure shortstop. And I know Nick Allen's played some second base, but let's face it, he's born to play shortstop as far as I'm concerned. But hey, like I said, it's a good problem to have, right? Well, we've got good news, and we're going to keep it all positive. That's coming up in a minute. But, FanDuel, we talk about them a lot. They want you to snap into action. Just heard Jimmy G is going to play Monday night for the Raiders. America's number 1 sportsbook wants you to be a part of all that NFL fun. It's a brand new season. Put your money on something and somebody, and your money goes a long way because, well, you get $200 in bonus bets when you place a $5 bet. That's it. A $5 bet gets you $200 in bonus bets. So win or lose, if you've been thinking about FanDuel, you need to just stop thinking and start doing. The app is easy to use. Wide range of betting options for you there. Spreads, player props, those are always fun. Overs, unders, all of that. Anything you could put your money on, you can do through FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. That's FanDuel, official partner of the National Football League. Well, we have a big announcement out of Las Vegas. Oh, it's not that one. Okay, hold on. It's a different one. It's the Aviators, who, as you might remember, I just told you yesterday, have the Manager of the Year, Fran Riordan. Congrats again to Fran. But we're still handing out the hardware. So we want to congratulate Cody Thomas, PCL All-Star, 109 RBI in 107 games. So he drove in almost as many games. Well, no, he drove in more than the games that he played. 23 home runs. Sometimes I can't read my own writing. I'll just be honest. 27 stolen bases. No, 27 doubles. See what I'm saying? Let me start over. 109 RBIs in 107 games, it says here. 23 home runs, 27 doubles, 8 triples. There, I got it out. And of course, he announces his free agency, and he may not even be with the A's anyway. So what do you do there? I got to think somebody's going to be interested in giving Cody a nice contract. Why not us? I mean, we should have money to spend, right? Revenue sharing, Mr. Fisher. So I know it's the thing to go out and make a splash and sign a big money free agent, but we don't do that. It's just not anything the A's have ever done under the current ownership. So you got some money to spend. How about a guy who showed what he could do at AAA, and maybe, just maybe, there's a place for him in the outfield? And I know you're thinking, wait a second, we've got Brent Rooker there, we got Seth Brown, we got Esty, we got Lawrence Butler. We're kind of fat in the outfield. Well, that's what spring training's for. So if you sign Cody and you got him under control for a few years, maybe you send him to spring training and you let him battle it out. Stranger things have happened, right? So great year. Congrats to Cody. And again, PCL All-Star, Pacific Coast League All-Star this year. Fran Reardon gets the Manager of the Year award. So all in all good news for your Las Vegas Aviators. All right. Speaking of Vegas, you knew there'd be something, right? Well, Joe Lacob, you know Joe. Joe is the owner of the Golden State Warriors. Joe puts the money that he makes back into his team. Joe has enjoyed championships, and Joe has been on the record as saying that should John Fisher decide he wants to sell the team, which according to him, they're not for sale, but should that happen, he might be interested. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and give you the quotes here. So we're going to quote Joe Lacob just yesterday. If for whatever reason John Fisher decided that it wasn't going to work, sure, we might be interested, but I'm not like throwing my hat in the ring. And I don't want Major League Baseball to be mad at me. So I don't want to get in their way. That's what you call being politically correct. You do the right thing. I mean, we can see right through that, right? What's he going to say? Yeah, I want that team. And yeah, I'd be a better owner than this guy by far. He's not going to say that. So he's doing what he's a gentleman. He's a pro. Here's another quote. You have to have someone who wants to sell something to be interested in buying it. Yeah, you can't buy what isn't for sale, right? John is very interested in being successful. He's dogged about it. It's a great word, by the way, dogged, sorry, try it. He's dogged about it, and he's going to Vegas as far as I understand it. So I don't want to comment on that because as a person, I hope he's successful. I don't want to get in his way and say anything. Second verse, same as the first. Okay, everything I just told you there about CYA, cover your booty, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, making us your first listen every day. That's what I hear you do, and I'm telling you right now, very happy to hear that. All your A's news, of course, here every single day with Locked On A's. And it was 20 years ago today. Sergeant Pepper, well, no, it's not Sergeant Pepper. It was 20 years ago today in A's-tory. There's history, then there's A's-tory, okay? On this date in A's-tory, which would be October the 6th when we're recording this, 20 years ago today, 2003. It's kind of a painful memory, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Maybe you remember the A's had a 2-0 lead. They just needed to win one more against the Boston Red Sox and in the ALDS, and then it was off to the races. They were going to go to the ALCS and take on the Yanks. Well, didn't happen. Didn't happen because they blew that lead. Boston comes back with 3 straight wins over the A's, a 4-3 loss in the final game. Over 50,000 nutso Oakland A's fans with a few Boston fans. Yeah, it always happens, right? Whenever the Red Sox or the Yankees are in town, I got to give you 20% of the Coliseum. It's just going to happen. Okay, but still, 50,000 people, or just shy of, was the announced attendance, the official attendance. Stellar pitching matchup, too. You had Barry Zito going for the A's with kind of a beard thing, and Pedro Martinez. And again, it was a close game. It was what you kind of would expect. The A's had a chance to even win the game in the 9th inning. Scott Williamson just couldn't find the plate for the Red Sox. He walked Scott Hatteberg, and then Eric Burns ran for him, and then Jose Guillen drew a walk, and then Derek Lowe came in. And that's where, as they used to say on VH1's Behind the Music, it all went horribly wrong, because it did. Derek Lowe just had the A's number for whatever reason. He comes in, Ramon Hernandez with a bunt moves the runners up to second and third. And then Adam Melhuse comes to the plate and strikes out, looking. Followed by pinch hitter, Jermaine Dye did not come to the plate. Instead, did I miss a walk there? Yes, Chris Singleton drew a walk, right. So the bases are loaded. Pinch hitter for Jermaine Dye, Terrence Long, playing the percentages. Lefty righty. I think this was Ken Maka, right? Managing the A's. Okay, so we're playing the percentages, which you know I love, but here comes Terrence Long, who falls behind low, 1-2, and then takes a fastball right down the middle of the plate. I mean, I don't know. Obviously fooled. He was looking for something off speed. He got the heater, and it was just BP. I mean, it was right there for Terrence Long to do something with. He didn't. I think in that situation, we all learned way back in Little League, right? Swing the bat. Because the game is hinging upon that at bat. If it's close, you swing there. I think you do. But again, I think mentally, just he couldn't adjust and sat there and watched it. So that's the way the game ended. And then, of course, Red Sox went on to play the Yankees, which kind of torqued me off a little bit. And I'm going to tell you why, because I was pretty mad. I remember being really hot because the team with the best record, which was the Eastern Division champion Yankees, 101-61, they were supposed to play the wild card team, which would have been Boston. But because they were in the same division, they said no. Oakland will play Boston. New York will instead play the Twins, right? So, of course, they get rid of Minnesota pretty fast, disposing of them, and then we play the Red Sox, who mount this 3-game comeback. I really think that the Red Sox would have beaten the Yankees. I think that would have happened had they played first. But they didn't. It was reversed. Don't ask me why I think that. I know you're going, well, what? There's got to be a reason. Why do you think that? I don't know. I just feel like had we gotten luck of the draw, Minnesota, the way it should have been, and the Red Sox played the Yanks, you know what I mean? I just would have liked our chances better. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yankees take care of the Red Sox. What a crazy series that was. If you remember, that's the series where Grady Little pretty much got fired for a decision he made. And it's also the series where Pedro Martinez took old man Popeye, Don Zimmer, down to the ground. Just grabbed Don Zimmer and yeah. That was crazy. But Don Zimmer, I got to be honest, he kind of came out there like he was looking for it. So, if you're Pedro, you do what you did. I mean, it wasn't like he, roundhouse socked the guy straight in the face. So anyway, that happened on this date in A's 3. We do say happy birthday to a few people. We've got happy birthdays for you. And we start off with former A's shortstop, Alfredo Griffin. Fettuccine Alfredo, Chris Berman used to call him. He wore the green and gold, number 3, as I recall, from 1985 until 1987. And he played 18 seasons overall in the major leagues, was a Rookie of the Year. He had to share that award. You remember who he shared it with? I should have done a trivia question because nobody remembers this guy. John Castino of the Minnesota Twins. John Castino, everybody. Don't know what happened to him. I don't think much of a career there. Alfredo, on the other hand, made his major league debut when he was only 18. And he did that for a different team. It was the Cleveland Indians, who then traded him to the Toronto Blue Jays. He actually debuted in the major leagues at 18 in 1976, but he didn't win that Rookie of the Year award until 79. So Cleveland sends him to Toronto. He gets a cup of coffee, another cup of coffee. He's maintaining his rookie status. And then in 79, he came to play and came to stay. 18 seasons worth. Alfredo Griffin was a lot of fun to watch and just an iron man. This guy played a bunch of games for the A's. In fact, all 162 in 1985 and 1986. And then he played 144 for the 1987 A's. So not bad, right? He is celebrating his 66th birthday today. Happy birthday to you, Alfredo Griffin. Gold Glove winner, too, by the way. He had quite a glove. 1985, he won that for the A's. And here's a little trivia question for you. Who's the other shortstop to have won a Gold Glove for the Oakland A's? And the answer is, well, it's kind of a trick question because there isn't one. That's it, Alfredo Griffin. End of story. He's the only one who's ever done that. In addition to his 18 seasons as a baseball player, not only that, Alfredo served as a coach. You can probably picture him, right, wearing the helmet, coaching first base for the Angels, a staple. He was there for 18 years. I'm not making that up. I am getting a fly, though. Have you seen that? Okay. 18 years for the Angels and 21 overall as a coach. 39 combined years in the sport for Alfredo Griffin, who is 66 today. Quite a career and quite a guy. Happy birthday, Alfredo. And former A's outfielder Ruben Sierra is 57 today. Remember that trade, I'm sure. If you were around in 92, Jose Canseco, shots fired, traded late in the season to the Texas Rangers. And a lot of people at the time, and a lot of people even still today, think that that was a trade that shouldn't have happened. Jose, can you see, off to Texas. And in return, we get Jeff Russell, we get Bobby Witt, not junior, senior, and, of course, Ruben Sierra. So you got an everyday right fielder, you got a starting pitcher, and you got another pitcher who can either start or relieve. So that was kind of what we got back. I still don't know if it was equitable. Jose still had some great years left, but I think he'd kind of worn out his welcome. Remember, that was the whole gun in the car, Esther, everything that was going on back then. A lot of drama off the field. And I think that might have been, probably is the reason why they decided to deal Jose. So they did. And then they traded Ruben Sierra in 1995 to the Yankees for Danny Tartabull. So 92 to 95, he's in Oakland A. Couple of decent years for the A's, actually pretty decent. Signed as a free agent after we got him in a trade. See, that's the thing that blows my mind is that we got him to play right field, be your everyday right fielder, but he became a free agent after that season. So he could have easily signed with another team, and then you would have gotten Bobby Witt and Jeff Russell for Jose Canseco. So even more lopsided than I kind of already felt like it was. Anyway, it didn't matter. Ruben did sign that contract with the A's. 1993, had a great year, 22 homers, 101 RBI, and he stole 28 bases, which was crazy. Little Jose-like, right? 1994, 23 dingers and 92 RBIs. And then after that, well, then he helped the Yankees get to the postseason. He did that in 1995. Sierra pretty much then after that seemed like he was playing for a different team every time you turned around, like a team a year, right? Because he went Tigers, Reds in 96 after he played for the Yankees. Then he went to the Blue Jays, remember, in 97. It was the White Sox and the Mets in 98. 1999, he played for the Cleveland Indians. In the year 2000, 2001, he played for Texas. Then Seattle in 02. And then I think it was, back to Texas, right? Yeah. All my exes live in Texas, and so does Ruben Sierra. He goes back there again, and then he goes back to the Yankees. Then he doesn't play again until 2005, back with the Yankees after being with the Yankees, and they let him go, and then he came back. So I think that was trip number 3. You'd think his name was Billy Martin. And he finishes his career with the Twins in 2006. So all told, 20 seasons, long career, 9 different teams, 2,152 base hits, had a bunch of home runs. He hit 306. He had 1,322 RBI and stole 142 bases. And you're thinking, well, that's kind of close to Hall of Fame-ish, right? Not really. It's the Hall of Very Good. Ruben Sierra, certainly better than your average player back then. I would say he's better than average, which is why all those teams kept taking a chance on him. There was something to me, though, that was just off with him. I did experience it firsthand. I took my son to a game. I'm trying to think. Oh, Kansas City. I mean, we lived in Oakland, went to a game in Kansas City, saw the A's play the Royals, and as we were walking out, the A's were headed to their bus, even though the hotel was right across the street. But they're headed to their bus. We see Rickey Henderson, and my son is running up there to try to get Rickey to sign a baseball. And instead of Rickey saying no, because I think he would have done it, it looked like, in fact, he was getting ready to, do what Rickey do, sign a baseball. But Ruben Sierra stepped in and said, we don't have time to do this. We got to go to dinner, and just turned his back on my son and me and got on the bus. Even though it would have taken 20 seconds. And it wasn't like there were a bunch of other people around. There was no eBay thing happening. It was just one autograph from Rickey Henderson. So I don't know if Ruben was offended because my son Ian, who's in his 30s now, but back then was like 10, didn't ask Ruben for an autograph. He asked Rickey, but can you blame him? Anyway, I just thought it was extremely rude. And if you know me, I'm not going to hold back. I just, I can't. So I let him have it. I let him have it in a not suitable for work fashion, and we'll just leave it at that. But it's a story that my kid to this day continues to tell. So that's my little Ruben Sierra moment there. All that said, it's his birthday. So 57 years young today. Happy birthday to Ruben Sierra. All right. Thanks a bunch for being here. I appreciate you making it all the way to the end. And if you did, don't forget a subscription goes a long way. So subscribe to Locked On A's. That way you don't miss an episode. Give us the old thumbs up if you can. It's good to be liked. And we'd love it if you gave us one of those too. If you're listening, you want to send us some feedback, don't forget you can do that on Twitter at Locked On A's. And of course, the comment section on YouTube. Always take your feedback there. I've got some feedback for Dave Cavill after something that he said just yesterday, and we're gonna talk about that on our next episode of Locked On A's. But that's next time. For this time, I'm Wayne Coy. Thanks for being here. 100% appreciate you and appreciate that. Enjoy the playoffs because, that's what it's all about. And keep on swinging.